Money does not flow toward the hardest worker or the smartest man in the room. It flows toward the calmest, and that is the most expensive thing no one ever taught you. Sit with that for a second, because it explains something you have watched happen your whole life. You kept seeing calmer, lazier, less impressive men end up richer than you. You were told money follows effort, or intelligence, or hustle. So you worked harder and watched the money drift again and again towards someone doing less and sweating none of it. That was not luck. It was a law you could not see. Money is attracted to composure, because every decision that builds wealth is made in calm, and every decision that destroys it is made in emotion. So here is the question that decides which side of that law you live on. When money is involved, a bill, a loss, a sudden opportunity, a market falling, does your pulse go up or stay flat? Be honest. Because if your pulse rises, you make your money decisions from the exact emotional state that transfers wealth from the anxious to the calm, and you have been on the losing side of that transfer your whole life, without knowing it was happening. This is the second law of the wolf economy. Last time you learned to stop being free and set your price. This one goes underneath, to the emotional machinery that decides who keeps money and who bleeds it. And I will warn you now, the calm this requires is not something you are born with or without. It is built deliberately, and the men who build it quietly take money from the men who never do. It waits until the end for a reason, because the final turn shows you who has been calm at your expense. 500 years ago, Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a river. In calm times it flows gently, but when it floods it destroys everything in its path. And the only men who survive the flood are the ones who built their defenses during the calm, before the water rose. The unprepared man panics when the river floods and is swept away. The prepared man, who kept his head and built while others rested, stands on dry ground and watches the flood carry off everything his panicked neighbors owned. Wealth, Machiavelli understood, is not won in the flood. It is won in the calm before it, by the man cold enough to prepare while everyone else is comfortable. Before we go under, drop 4 words in the comments. Money flows to calm. Type it. Because by the end of this you will see the invisible tax you have been paying in every anxious money decision, straight into the pocket of someone calmer than you. Before the mechanism, understand the thing you have been paying without ever seeing the bill. Call it the emotional tax. Every time emotion touches a money decision, it costs you, and the cost goes to whoever was calm on the other side of that decision. This is not a metaphor. It is the actual mechanism by which wealth moves. When you buy something because you are excited, you overpay, and the calm seller keeps the difference. When you sell something because you are scared, you undersell, and the calm buyer keeps the difference. When you panic in a downturn and get out, you lock in the loss, and the calm man who held, or bought what you dumped, collects the recovery you gave up. Fear and excitement are not just uncomfortable feelings. They are the 2 doorways through which your money walks out and into calmer hands. Notice that both doorways lead the same direction. Men think fear is the dangerous one, and they brace for it. But excitement empties your pockets just as fast, and it is more dangerous, precisely because it feels good. Fear at least warns you that something is wrong. Excitement feels like opportunity, like winning, like the moment you have been waiting for. And in that glow you overpay, overcommit, and ignore every signal you would have caught in a calm state. The best confidence tricks in history did not work through fear. They worked through excitement, through making the target feel like he was about to win. So do not just guard the fear door, guard the excitement door harder, because the tax collector prefers to come dressed as good news when your defenses are down, because you think you are the one getting lucky. Watch how it works in an ordinary life, because it is not only about markets. A man's car breaks down. It is a crisis. He needs it now. He is stressed. And in that state, he walks onto a lot and buys under pressure. Fast, emotional, and pays thousands more than the calm buyer who waited, compared, and negotiated from a position of no urgency. Same car. The difference in price was not knowledge. It was emotional state. The stressed man paid the emotional tax, and the dealer, calm and patient, collected it. This happens to most men 100 times across a life, in small transactions and enormous ones, and the total, over decades, is a fortune quietly transferred out of their hands, purely because they felt something at the wrong moment. Here is the part that stings. The emotional tax is invisible, which is why almost no one fixes it. You never see the better price you could have gotten if you had been calm, because it never existed for you. You only ever see the price your emotion agreed to. So you never learn. You go your whole life paying the tax and blaming your income, your luck, or the economy, never once suspecting that the leak was not how much came in, but the emotional state you were in every time money moved. Machiavelli's river again. The flood did not make you poor. Panicking in the flood did. And the tax gets heaviest at the exact moments that matter most, because that is when emotion runs highest. A small purchase carries a small emotional charge, so it carries a small tax. But the biggest money moments of your life, buying a home, changing careers, a market crashing while your savings are in it, an inheritance, a business decision, those carry the largest emotional charge, which means they carry the largest tax. So the pattern is cruel by design. Your calm is cheapest to keep on the decisions that barely matter, and hardest to keep on the decisions that decide everything. The man who only learns composure on small things has learned nothing, because the tax that ruins him is charged on the big ones. In the moments his heart is pounding hardest. The whole skill is holding calm precisely when everything in you says this one is different. This one is an emergency. This one you have to act on now. That feeling, this one is different, is the tax collector knocking. Mechanism 1. Separate the feeling from the decision. So how do you stop paying the tax? It works in layers, going down. Here is the first, and it is the foundation of every wealthy temperament that has ever existed. You learn to separate the feeling from the decision. Not to eliminate the feeling, which is impossible, but to insert a gap between feeling it and acting on it. Because the tax is never charged on what you feel, it is charged on what you do while feeling it. The excitement about the opportunity is not the problem. Buying in the grip of that excitement is. The fear about the loss is not the problem. Selling in the grip of that fear is. The wealthy temperament is not one that feels less. It is one that has built a reliable gap between the feeling and the hand. No money moves while the emotion is running hot. The mechanism is a rule, set in advance, before emotion arrives. No money decision above a certain size gets made the same day the feeling hits. This is the same delay you learned to use against pressure, now turned inward, against your own emotion, which is the more dangerous salesman. When excitement says buy now, the rule says not today. When fear says sell now, the rule says not today. The feeling gets its full expression. You just do not let it touch the money for 24 hours. And in that gap, the emotion drains to a level where the calm, real decision becomes visible underneath it. Almost every catastrophic money decision in your life was made inside a window the length of the emotion. Almost none would have survived a single night of sleep. The move this week is to write the rule down before you need it. Because you cannot invent a rule in the middle of the emotion. That is exactly when you have no access to it. One line. No money decision over a set amount, same day. Put it where you will see it. You are building the gap now, in the calm, so it exists when the flood comes. See the gap save a man in real time. The market drops hard one morning, 20% in a week, and his savings are in it. And every headline is screaming collapse, and his whole body is flooded with the urge to sell everything before it goes to zero. This is the exact moment the emotional tax is collected, because millions of men feel that identical urge at the identical moment and sell together, at the bottom, to the calm buyers waiting below. The man with the gap feels every bit of the fear. He is not a robot, but his rule says no money decision the same day the feeling hits. So he does nothing. He closes the app, he sleeps on it, badly, and in the morning, the fear has drained just enough that he can see the thing clearly, and he sees what he could not see the day before, that selling now would lock in a loss that only exists on paper until he makes it real. He holds. Months later, the market recovers, as it has after every panic in history, and the calm buyers who bought his neighbor's panic are richer, and he is not among the men who paid them. The gap did that. Not knowledge, not brilliance, a one-line rule written in the calm that held his hand still for one night, while other men's fear moved theirs. Mechanism 2. Cash is composure. Understand that the deepest source of financial calm is not discipline. It is having a reserve. Here is a truth almost no one connects. Most financial panic is not really about the market or the bill. It is about having no buffer, so that every setback is an emergency, and every emergency forces an emotional decision. The man with no reserve cannot be calm, no matter how much willpower he has, because he is always one problem away from a crisis, and crisis makes calm impossible. The man with a reserve is calm not because he is stronger, but because he can afford to be. A buffer is not just money. It is the physical source of composure, the thing that lets you say not today when everyone else is forced to say right now. This is why the reserve is the second layer and not the first. The gap from mechanism 1 is a skill, but it is enormously easier to hold that gap when you are not desperate. A desperate man cannot wait 24 hours, because his crisis is today. So the reserve is what makes the calm affordable. It converts emergencies back into mere problems, and a problem can be handled calmly while an emergency cannot. Every bit you set aside is not just savings, it is composure, bought in advance, stored up for the moment the river floods, exactly as Machiavelli's prepared man built his defenses in the calm. And see the trap that runs the other direction, because this is why the broke stay broke. A man with no reserve is forced into emotional decisions, and emotional decisions cost him money, which keeps him with no reserve, which forces the next emotional decision. It is a loop, and it feeds itself. He cannot wait for a better price, so he always pays the worst one. He cannot walk away from a bad deal, so he takes it. He cannot hold through a dip, so he sells at the bottom. Every one of those is the emotional tax, and every payment of it keeps him too thin to ever stop paying it. The reserve is the one thing that breaks the loop, because it is the first moment he can afford to make a calm decision, and a single calm decision, unlike an emotional one, tends to leave him with more than he started, not less. This is why the gap between a man with 3 months saved and a man with nothing is not 3 months of money. It is the difference between a man who makes decisions and a man whose decisions are made for him by his own fear. And here is where the anchor of this whole video arrives. Because one person understood this more completely than almost anyone in financial history. This is the money lane guard, said plainly first. What follows is history and psychology, not financial advice. I am not telling you what to buy or how to invest. I am showing you a temperament through a real woman who had it. Mechanism 3, Hetty Green and the flood. Her name was Hetty Green, and in her time she was the richest woman in the world, though the newspapers, unable to forgive a woman for being coldly good with money, called her the Witch of Wall Street. She dressed in plain black, worked from a desk at a bank rather than a grand office, and lived far below her means. which the press mocked as miserliness. It was not miserliness, it was the reserve. She kept cash on hand, always, when everyone around her was fully invested and fully exposed, and she waited, calm, for the river to flood. In 1907, it flooded. A financial panic swept New York. Banks failed. Men who had looked rich the week before were ruined in days. The most powerful financier in America, J.P. Morgan, called an emergency meeting of Wall Street's most important figures to try to stop the whole economy from collapsing. In that room of powerful men, there was exactly one woman. Hetty Green. She was the only one Morgan invited, and she was invited for a simple reason. She had seen it coming, and she had cash when almost no one else did. In her own words, she had said the rich were approaching the brink, and a panic was inevitable, and she had made every effort to have cash on hand for exactly this moment. Now watch what calm plus a reserve does in a flood. While panicked men were dumping everything they owned at any price just to raise cash, Hetty Green was the one with cash, which meant she could buy what terrified men were selling for pennies. And when the city of New York itself was in danger, unable to borrow because the banks had no money to lend, Hetty Green lent the city over $1 million of her own money. She could have charged desperate borrowers almost anything. By her own account, she charged 6%, when she said she could easily have secured 40%. She was cold, but she was not cruel. She simply understood that the flood was where fortunes moved. The calm person with a reserve does not have to be predatory to win. He only has to be the one who is not panicking, understand the full lesson, because it is the whole video in one life. Hetty Green did not get rich in the flood by being smarter than everyone in the room, though she was sharp. She got rich because she had built her calm and her reserve during the years of comfort. Everyone else was fully invested and feeling clever. When the river rose, they panicked and sold, and she stood on the dry ground she had prepared and calmly collected what their fear threw away. She died with a fortune worth, in today's terms, billions. Not because she worked harder than the men around her. Because when money moved, and it always moves most violently in a panic, she was the calmest person in the room, and money flows to the calm. And notice the detail the newspapers use to mock her, because it is the exact source of her power. They called her a miser for living below her means, for the plain black dress, for keeping cash idle when everyone said she should have it all working in the market. That idle cash, the thing they laughed at, was the entire reason she owned the panic of 1907. While the clever, fully invested men had every dollar exposed and nothing in reserve, she had the one thing that becomes priceless in a flood, which is dry powder, cash ready to move when no one else has any. Her apparent weakness during the calm, the boring, idle reserve, was her decisive weapon during the storm. This is the pattern for you to see. The habits that look like weakness during good times, keeping a reserve, sitting out the frenzy, staying boring, are exactly the habits that become power the day the good times end. Everyone is calm in calm weather. She built for the flood while the sun was out, and that is why, when it came, the richest men in America had to come to a woman in a worn black dress and borrow. Quick question, and it divides people sharply. In a financial crisis, who actually comes out ahead? The brilliant man who reacts fast, or the ordinary man who simply stays calm and does nothing rash? Half of you believe intelligence wins, that the sharp mind sees the move and takes it. But look at who actually got destroyed in every crash in history. It was rarely the calm and the prepared. It was the brilliant and the overextended, the clever men, too smart to keep a boring reserve, too confident to fear the flood. Drop your take below, brains or composure. And here is the audit. Think of the worst money decision of your life. Were you calm when you made it, or were you in the grip of a feeling? You already know the answer. everyone does. Mechanism 4. The calm is built, not born. Mechanism 4. And this is the one that saves you from despair. Because right now, you might be thinking you are simply not a calm person. That is the belief that keeps most men paying the tax forever. So kill it now. The calm that money flows toward is not a personality trait. It is built, and it is built out of specific things you can construct on purpose. It is built out of 3 components, and none of them require you to be born serene. The first is the reserve, which you already have, that converts emergencies into problems. The second is the rule, the gap, decided in advance so emotion cannot make the decision. The third is exposure, in the sense of having been through enough small money storms, calmly, that the large ones no longer feel like emergencies. Calm in money is largely just familiarity. The man who looks unshakably composed during a market drop is often not braver than you. He has simply lived through 5 of them and learned in his body that the flood recedes. You can build that same familiarity, deliberately, by staying in the game through small storms instead of fleeing them, until your nervous system stops treating every dip as a death. The deeper point is that calm is a competitive financial advantage anyone can build. Almost no one does, because building it is boring. It is boring to keep a reserve while others spend. It is boring to sit out an exciting opportunity because your rule says wait. It is boring to hold steady through a storm while everyone around you is dramatically panicking and it feels like doing nothing. The calm man looks passive in the moment, and the emotional men look like they are the ones taking action. But over a lifetime, the boring calm man ends up with the money, and the exciting emotional men end up transferring theirs to him, one panicked decision at a time. Machiavelli's prepared man looked lazy during the calm, building defenses no one thought they needed. He looked like a genius the day the river flooded. The work was invisible until the exact moment it was everything. The move this week is to find one small money storm you would normally react to emotionally, and practice doing nothing, not out of laziness, out of discipline. Feel the pull to act, and hold. You are not being passive. You are building the exact calm that money spends its whole life flowing toward. And understand why almost no one will build it, because that is your actual advantage here. Calm is boring to build and invisible when built, and human beings are wired to want the opposite, to feel like they are doing something, especially in a crisis. When the flood comes, every instinct screams to act, to move, to do something, and the man who sits still looks, to himself and everyone else, like he is failing to respond. It takes a strange kind of strength to look passive while everyone around you is dramatically active. It takes trust that your stillness is the move. Most men cannot do it. They would rather take a losing action than endure the discomfort of a winning stillness. Action feels like control, and waiting feels like helplessness. This is exactly backwards, and the fortune is in the reversal. The men who can sit still in the storm inherit the money of the men who could not. Your edge is not that you are smarter than them. It is that you are willing to be boring, and to look passive, and to trust the stillness, in the precise moment their nerves force them to act. That willingness is rare, which is exactly why it pays. Mirror twist. Who's been calm at your expense? Now the turn, and I promised it would show you something uncomfortable. For 20 minutes you have thought about becoming the calm one. But flip it, and look at the transactions of your life from the other side. Every time you paid the emotional tax, someone collected it, and that someone was calm at your expense. The dealer who stayed patient while you were stressed. The person who bought what you panic sold. The lender who stayed composed while you were desperate. You have spent your life on the paying side of a transfer that was always flowing toward calmer men, and you never saw their faces, Because the emotional tax is invisible to the one paying it. They were not smarter than you. They were just calm in the exact moments you were not. And here is the part that goes deeper than money. The same law runs through everything, not just your finances. The calmest person in any negotiation extracts value from the anxious one. The calmest person in any argument controls the outcome. The calmest person in any relationship sets the terms, because the one who needs it less, who can stay composed, who is not operating from fear, always holds the power. Money is just the clearest, most measurable version of a law that governs your entire life. Whoever is calmer wins the exchange, every exchange, and you have been handing your composure away, in money and in everything else, to whoever was cold enough to keep theirs. So the real question the whole video was building toward is this. In how many rooms of your life has someone been quietly calm at your expense, collecting what your emotion threw off, while you never even knew a transfer was happening? Once you can see it, you cannot unsee it. And the moment you start becoming the calm one, the transfer reverses. You stop being the man money and power flow away from, and start being the one they flow toward. Not because you got smarter, because you finally stopped feeling things at the exact moments other men were waiting to profit from your feeling them. And here is the last thing, the one that turns this from a money video into something bigger. The calm is not a trick you deploy in transactions. It is a way of being that other people can feel on you. It changes how they treat you before a single deal is on the table. A man who is visibly calm around money, who does not flinch at a bill, who is not desperate, who can walk away, is treated completely differently by everyone he deals with, because desperation has a smell, and so does composure. The calm man gets better offers before he even negotiates. People instinctively do not try to exploit a man who clearly does not need it. The anxious man gets worse offers before he opens his mouth, because his need is written on him, and need invites exploitation. So building this calm does not just win you the individual decision. It reprices you in every room you enter, permanently, because the world reads your composure as a measure of your strength, and it treats strength with respect and need with predation. You are not just learning to keep your money, you are learning to become the kind of man money, and people stop trying to take from. So there it is, the second law of the wolf economy. Money flows to the calm, the emotional tax, paid every time feeling touches a money decision. The gap, inserted on purpose, so emotion never touches the hand. The reserve, which is composure bought in advance and stored for the flood. And the built calm, familiarity, constructed through small storms that anyone can develop and almost no one does. 4 layers, going down to one truth. The wealthy temperament is not richer because it feels less. It is richer because it acts less on what it feels. And the debate from the middle, brains or composure? Here is my answer, and it is not the flattering one. Composure beats brains, and it is not close. The graveyards of finance are full of brilliant men who could not keep their heads. The fortunes are full of ordinary men who simply stayed calm across decades, while cleverer men blew themselves up. Intelligence tells you what the right move is. Composure is what lets you actually make it, when everyone around you is screaming and your own pulse is pounding. A smart man in a panic makes the same ruined decision as a fool. A calm man of average intelligence across a lifetime quietly ends up rich. Bet on the temperament, not the IQ. Here is what changes when this law lives in you. The bills stop feeling like emergencies because you built the reserve that turns them into problems. The opportunity stops stampeding you into overpaying because you built the gap that lets the excitement drain first. And slowly, in 100 quiet transactions, you stop being the man the emotional tax is collected from, and become the calm one on the other side of the table. You will not feel dramatic doing it. You will feel almost passive, boring, still, and you will watch money stop leaking out of your life for the first time, because the leak was never your income. It was your composure, and you finally stopped giving it away. Say it one more time and mean it now. Money flows to calm, the tax, the gap, the reserve, the built calm, still hands, in a room full of shaking ones. If this rewired how you see every money decision, you are one of the pack, and the pack does not panic in the flood. Subscribe, because this is the second law in a series on how money actually moves. The next one goes to the hardest place of all, the loop that keeps men broke, no matter how much comes in, and why escaping it is not a money problem at all, but a war fought inside the mind first. There is a specific mental trap that keeps the broke man broke, and it has almost nothing to do with his salary. That is next in The Wolf Economy, new episode Thursday. Don't miss it. Build the reserve, insert the gap, sit still in the storm, and remember, you were never bad with money. You were just feeling things at the exact moments the calm men were waiting to collect. Stop feeling on cue, and the money stops leaving.